Hunt Showdown just released in closed alpha yesterday. The NDA has finally lifted. YouTubers and Twitch streamers alike have been playing this game like mad, and I've done a little bit of it myself on stream just yesterday, a good 4 or so hours of the game, and I wanted to give my feedback on what I'm feeling about the game so far, what I feel that the devs could potentially do better, how they can make the title as good as it can possibly be. Now, basically, I have just a Word document here with a bunch of little bullet points of things that I've wanted to talk about, so it might get a little bit jumbled, but unfortunately, I'm just a little crunched for time. I can't go into the depth I want to, but we're going to try to run through this as best we can. So the first thing on my list that I've been wanting to talk about is looting of other players. Now, from talking to people in my stream chat and within Discord, but I've not talked to any of the developers themselves. From what I've heard, the hearsay that I've received is that the developers don't want to allow people to loot other players because they don't want it to be about killing other players. They don't want Hunt to be a player versus player game. They want it to be a game where your goal is to go in to kill the monster. And if you run into other players, then, I mean, there may be that little shaky moment, but it's not intended to be like a player versus player game where you're going to kill players. The focus is supposed to be on the monster and getting the loot from the monster, which I understand. But at the same time, you're playing a game where the best chance that you have of winning is eliminating your opposition. That is the best chance that you have of killing the monster, is to eliminate that opposition as quickly and ruthlessly as you can. And assuming the players are not going to go for other players and they're not going to try to kill them at first notice is kind of backwards to me. So how does that tie with looting players? Well, I would love to be able to kill an enemy, take their guns, take their tools and consumables more often than not. Like, if they have dynamite and I don't, I want their dynamite. If they have a med kit, mine is only having one charge left, it's about to be used up. Well, I want to use that last charge and then take their med kit, right? I want to be able to interact with their body and to be able to just straight up get some of their gear. Now, I'm not saying that I want to take all their guns and I want to be able to sell everything on their body, including their clothes and their underwear and everything, for $5 to get a new gun for my character. But what I am saying is I want to be able to have some kind of an interaction with that player that I've killed. I want to have some kind of reward, because currently the reward is only that there are now fewer threats in the server for me to deal with. But apart from that, like, I'm not being rewarded. I'm just basically eliminating any chance of punishment as opposed to being punished. So, I'm eliminating any chance of being punished as opposed to being rewarded directly. So I would love to see that direct reward brought to the forefront a little bit more. I understand that you get a lot of experience, you're going to probably get money for killing players as well, just directly given to you, and that's going to go to your bloodline, but at the same time, I would love that little bit more visceral feedback of, hey, you got to kill, you killed the guy. Here is your reward for that. Like, even if it's just showing me that experience and that money up front, maybe, although that might be a little immersion breaking, but at the same time, just something I think should happen there to get players a little bit more invested in that, because whether or not the developers are wanting the game to go that way, it absolutely is going to go that way. People are going to focus on killing each other a lot. So I strongly would suggest that be one of, like, the major things that gets looked at, is like a looting system. You know, it needs to be a little bit more fleshed out. When you are able to kill a player and take their stuff and then you safely extract, like, you don't even go for the monster, you just extract. Like, that should be a viable way of leveling up your character, of advancing your bloodline, of farming money, so that way you can build a really strong hunter to then go into another mission and actually kill the monster, right? That would be a great sort of progression within the game, which is kind of there. I see players talking about, but I think that it could be supported, could again be brought to that forefront just a little bit more. Next thing on my bullet point list here is that I feel that once more monsters are added to the game, if the matchmaking continues in the current trend of there's a daytime version of, like, Spider, nighttime version of Spider, daytime Butcher, nighttime Butcher, and that's 4 separate matchmaking queues. That's already way too many matchmaking queues, and as you start adding more monsters and potentially more maps, are there going to be more than one map in this game? I really don't know, but regardless, we're looking at way too many matchmaking queues, and in a game that potentially may not have a huge player base. It's kind of a niche game, and it's running on CryEngine, which is insanely hard for most people to run. So I already have fears of player base being a little bit lower than other battle royale style games. Although I hesitate to call this a battle royale. It kind of, I don't know, it's just different. It's sort of like within that ballpark, I suppose. But regardless, having multiple matchmaking queues, like more than 2 or 3, seems to be a little bit ridiculous to me. So I would strongly suggest that as more monsters are added to the game, that all of this is condensed and consolidated. Instead of me choosing the monster that I want to go and fight and then matchmaking in that queue, and hopefully other people want to also go kill that monster, which by the way makes like no difference in the loot that you get, so like that could also be a potential growing point for the game. I would love to see that all consolidated. So I just click play, I click matchmake, and I don't have a selection, I don't have a choice either way. What it ends up being is, okay, I hit matchmaking, I hit play. Once I get that full 16-player lobby, then I'm thrown into a pregame area where I have maybe like 2 minutes to prepare. And it says, okay, this is the monster that we found. This is the monster that everyone is going to go and fight. Now you have 2 minutes, go to the store, buy your gear, load your hunter out the way you want to, and tailor it to this mission. And then you're going to go in, and then you're gonna start. Maybe it'll even show for, maybe not, it'll just show to you, but not to everyone else, like your starting point, for example. So it'll show you the map, it'll show you here's where you're gonna start, here's where you're gonna drop in, because in this game it seems that you don't have a choice. It's just you're put somewhere and you gotta deal with it. So show that to players beforehand, let them strategize beforehand, and then they can push forward, go into that mission, and be prepared and not feel like they're totally RNG'd. Like if they bring all small arms, they bring like a long rifle and a pistol, and they have to, maybe they bring a bunch of like the fire bombs, whatever those are called. Like I can't remember the names. And they have to fight the butcher, for example. Well, they're screwed. They have all the wrong guns and all the wrong consumables for that fight. Conversely, if they bring a bunch of shotguns and explosives, but they don't have any antidotes, it's going to be kind of hard to fight the spider, for example. So giving players one matchmaking queue, but also giving them time to react to what the game is randomly assigning them, what mission they're going to be in, and giving them time to react to that, build their character, I think is going to be a better way of doing it. And I also think that consolidating the day and night cycles into one, or whether there aren't cycles, but I'm saying is like create a cycle, right? So this will tie into some future points, and I'll get into that a little bit later, but consolidate day and night, so that way there's not separate things. Make it so whenever you go in, there's gonna be day and there's gonna be night in every single mission, and it's just gonna progress through it at some given rate. We'll go ahead, I guess we'll just, since I'm on the topic, I'll just skip forward and we'll talk about that now. So one problem that I have been noticing that the game has is that there is no grand motivator to move. There is no grand motivator to push forward. There is kind of this unspoken sense of you want to rush forward and get to that monster as quickly as you can, but at the same time, it's going to be such a long, arduous, taxing, and loud engagement trying to kill the monster that even if you get there first, unless you're getting there within the first like 5 minutes, it almost doesn't seem to make sense to actually fight the monster. It almost seems to make more sense to get to the lair and then just chill and do nothing for the next 20 minutes. You just chill right next to the lair, wait for some other idiot to go in and try to fight the monster, then you swoop in when they're, once they've actually killed it, and you steal their stuff, or, you kill them right before they're about to finish the monster while they're distracted. Like, there's a huge metagame of when you're fighting the monster, not only do you need to be 100% focused on the boss mechanics and how to fight the boss and how to stay alive, and you got to be watching your ammo and all this and that. All that aside, you need to also be watching for other hunters coming in and trying to swoop your kill, trying to swoop your loot. And I get that that's the point of the game. That's where the difficulty comes in, and that's totally fine. I'm not asking them to change that dynamic, but something to make players want to continue progressing and not just get to that point and then sit there and wait to kill other players. Like, there needs to be some kind of grand motivator that keeps people moving and keeps the pace of the game active and not too passive, not too focused on slaughtering every other player in the server. One great part of that is that you have no idea how many players are in the game. So you could connect to a server, there might only be 6 other players, you don't know, and there might be a total of 16. You really have no way of knowing for sure, and there is no indicator of other player dying. You are just going to hear gunfire suddenly stop, and you're going to be like, well, were there 2 sets of hunters fighting and they died and now that the fight's over and one of them lived? Which group lived, if so? Where are they at? Which exact direction are they? Or was it a single or a pair of hunters that were just fighting a bunch of zombies? Like maybe they got overwhelmed and they were in a big fight and there was issues with that and they had to actually break out the guns instead of the knives, instead of just stabby. They had to actually shoot stuff to survive. I know I've been in that situation many times, especially outside of that one big church with the big graveyard. There's a bunch of hellhounds there, those big possessed zombie dogs, right? There is a lot of those things there, and it's very easy to be overwhelmed and have issues there. So I strongly feel that there needs to be some sort of, again, motivator to push these players to go forward. Obviously, the Storm Eye, like from Fortnite, is not a factor in this game, but I think that this is where a day-night cycle could come into effect. Maybe over the course of 30 to 40 minutes, something like that, the sun will go from being high in the sky to setting, and it goes from daytime to full-on pitch black nighttime. None of the lanterns in the map are lit, and you have to go and light all those lanterns if you want to continue seeing, or you got to turn on your shoulder-mounted flashlight, or you got to pick up a lantern from somewhere else. Like, make it like, you know, that pitch black darkness, like spooky, scary, what is going on of playing the current nighttime mode, and like, just go for that and have that be the grand motivator. Once nighttime starts to strike, players have to start playing differently. Maybe there are increased zombie spawns. Maybe they become more aggressive. Maybe they will be able to sniff out and track down hunters who are being too passive in an area, especially near the boss room. If they're being too passive, waiting for other people and trying to swoop them and just kill, and then get the boss and get out once everyone else is dead. Make it so that's a more difficult strategy to rely on. Just something to, again, push the pace of the game forward, I think is going to be critical in helping people want to continue playing the game. Because right now, there is so much focus on, this is my hunter, I've built this hunter, I've invested a lot of time and money in this guy, I have lived to fight another day for numerous times now. He's a high level. I don't want him to die and lose him forever. And that is, I mean, you're going to die and lose him forever eventually. That's just going to happen. That's part of the game. And that's fine. But people are going to play very slow and scared and passively because of this. So having that grand motivator is going to always keep their heart pumping and pumping and pumping. It's going to always make them want to continue pushing forward, to not because they're wanting to keep their character alive, but because there is that constant stress that they're under. They want to just get out of that stressful situation that this game is doing, honestly, a really good job of creating right now, especially when you're playing nighttime missions. And if you guys are not playing nighttime missions, I strongly recommend that you stop playing daytime, you go to nighttime, play it on nighttime. You know, don't crank the brightness on your monitor. Let it be dark. Let it be spooky. Let it be where you can't see 5 feet in front of you. And you just can't. You have to look at your map. You have to use a flashlight. You have to use a lantern. Like, just play the game in that way, and your enjoyment is going to skyrocket. I mean, you're not, maybe not necessarily direct fun, but you're going to feel very distressed the whole time through. You're going to feel very connected to your character. You're going to feel very immersed in the world. You're going to be really listening with your ears for sound cues of, you know, what is that ruffling on the left? And you stop. Is there a hunter coming? Is there a zombie coming? Is it just a bird in the trees? What is it? You know, there's always that sense of what is happening, what's going to go on next. And you start using resources in different ways, and it's just a cool thing. And I would love to see that push to the forefront, but unfortunately, with daytime and nighttime being split in matchmaking, going back to that initial point, I would love to see a day-night cycle for every single game. So there's one play button, you get a random monster, you start in the daytime, or maybe you start in nighttime and it becomes day, who knows. But you start at some time of day, and then over the course of the match, it will progress to that other time of day, and there's just that constant shift, that constant change where, and I don't know, I think it's a cool idea. I think the game may play better that way. Maybe it won't, but I think it's worth at least trying if the implementation of, like that changing light level throughout the game is not too difficult for the developers to accomplish. I don't know how much control they have over like a weather system or, just the lighting system in general, and if that's a feasible thing to drastically change from daytime to nighttime throughout the course of a single match. Maybe it's not a possible thing. I don't know, but I would love to see that experimented with if it's a reasonable thing to do. Now, I think that pretty much covers the majority of my complaints. I mean, I have minor complaints about the controls, where aiming your weapons is kind of stupid and requires more button presses than it should. My personal feeling is that you should always be holding the gun at the ready. So let me explain it currently. If you don't play the game and you're just listening to this for the sake of listening to it, currently in Hunt, you walk around with your gun down in front of you. It's not aimed up, it's just you're holding it casually. If you hold right mouse button to aim down sights, you'll actually not aim down sights. You're going to just raise the gun in front of you like you're going to hip fire it as you would in pretty much any other first-person shooter ever. You have to hold both right mouse button and your sprint button, which is left shift by default, in order to fully aim down sights, to hard aim down the actual iron sights. And that becomes really awkward very quickly. It is such a change from your normal controls in a first-person shooter. It's very jarring. Now, this is the first time I'm saying this. I understand that that's kind of part of the feeling of the game. It's kind of what the developers are wanting to do with the game. They want it to feel kind of clunky and awkward. They want it to, at least I assume that's what they want. I assume that's what they're going for with this, is that they want it to feel a little bit more visceral, like you have to try a little harder, you have to work a little harder to get that gun up and get it in position. Like, this isn't a fast-paced, twitch shooter. You can't switch guns quickly, you can't switch between gear quickly, it takes you time to reload, takes you time to do everything. I get it. But at the same time, I think that they have gone a little too far astray from that baseline first-person shooter experience. I think that they need to keep that hipfire gun ready the default. I think they need to make it so when you hold right mouse button, that is what aims you down sights like it does in every other game. But in either of those modes, you move slower than normal. And I would add a new keybind that will cause you to lower your gun and be able to walk around more quickly without actually sprinting, perhaps. I mean, there's a lot of different and probably better ways that game designers can go in and change this, but I will just say flat out, I do not like the current design of having to hold both right mouse button and left shift in order to aim down sights. There are serious problems with keybinds with this, because let's say you use left control to crouch and you use left shift to both sprint and do that hard aim down sights. You can't use hold. It's really awkward trying to hold left control and left shift with your pinky finger. Just like, seriously, if you're listening, just put your hand down on your keyboard and try to do that. It's a very awkward feeling. Yes, it's possible. You can train yourself to do it, but I mean, I feel like that shouldn't be a thing people have to do, is train themselves to do that particular motion. So I think there is a keybind that will split up the left shift from sprinting and the hard aim down sights. I think that keybind does exist, so that is a great thing and a step in the right direction for people who like to hold all their hotkeys and not have toggles. But at the same time, it's just awkward. I don't want to have to hold two different buttons in order to fully aim down sights. Like, I'm almost considering making a mouse macro for whenever I hold right mouse button, it'll wait just a fraction of a second and then start holding left shift for me with a macro. So that way, I'm always, when holding right mouse, I'm just fully aim down sights, and I never have that hip fire. I'm always just either aim down sights or the gun is not ready at all. And I'm almost prepared to make that macro happen, just so I can play the game the way I want to play it. And I understand that goes against the design. It's kind of cheating, but I do think that the game should just be flat out changed that way, so that way there is no there's no problem with that happening from other players, because I know other players are going to do that because they're not going to like this control thing. So you might as well make it so everyone's at an equal playing ground without having to cheat. So that's kind of my take on that. Other than that, I would love to see like and this is just going way off the rails. I'd love to see a PvE mode brought into the game where like there's no PvP. It's the exact same game, but it's just you and a buddy going through. It's nighttime. It's scary. Monsters are bigger, faster, stronger than normal. They're more numerous. You have limited resources. There are multiple monsters that you have to kill. You have a time limit. Like, make it a challenging PvE or co-op mode within Hunt, so that way you don't have to do that competitive thing. Like, make it so this is what makes the game stand out from something like a Fortnite or a PUBG, where it is going to be compared to Battle Royales. No matter what you do, this game will be compared to Battle Royales. But if you do something, if you take that extra step to push it beyond and put a good co-op offline experience, well, I mean kind of online, you know, but you get the point. Like, not a competitive experience, but you make that cooperative experience like that, that is going to... It's going to harbor a lot of goodwill from players. A lot of people are going to like that mode and enjoy that mode, and I know I certainly would play it at least a couple times, if not a lot. That mode sounds really cool and really fun to me, very engaging. It's just putting yourself into this situation in this game that you're never going to experience in another first-person shooter. Like this Louisiana bayou, like killing zombies and monsters and literally banishing them to hell kind of gameplay, like in a battle royale, like looter shooter. Well, not looter shooter. I mean, like, but sort of kind of looty, like a battle royale kind of, this whole kind of deal. It's just, it's new. It's a fresh spin. It's a fresh take. And going that extra step, taking that risk on like a co-op thing is going to really set the game apart from everyone else. But anyways, guys, that is enough rambling for one day. I am officially out of time. I cannot go any longer on this. I need to get going. But thank you all so much for watching. I hope that this has been helpful for any developers that may be watching. I hope that any viewers here that are just watching for the sake of watching, if you have any suggestions, any feedback for the developers of Hunt Showdown, please leave that in the comment section down below. I'm sure that if they ever check this video out, they'd be more than happy to read your comments and see what you have to say about what I have had for feedback here, and to read what any additional feedback you might have. So please leave that stuff in the comment section down below. I will see you in the next video. Take care, guys.